I'm recording.
Okay, so this is our presentation on the deaf culture and community and education. This is going to be presented by myself, Ryan, by Rachel, Yuvisna, and Lucy. And I am going to go ahead and get started with the history of the deaf community. So, if we look far back into the early 1800s, the first school for the deaf community was in Hartford, Connecticut, and it was called the Asylum for the Deaf and Dumb. That was founded by Thomas Gallaudet, and Gallaudet is a very, very popular name in the deaf community. We have Gallaudet University currently in DC. This early period of education is referred to what's known as the manualism era, and that it's called manualism because that was when the use of American Sign Language or ASL was the primary mode of instruction and communication for the deaf community. This school and the motivation for this education was really inspired by the religious sects of the time wanting to evangelize to the deaf people and make sure that they were receiving religious training. And so that was kind of the crux of their desire for education, was that they would get hear about the Bible and religious instruction. This is a picture of the Connecticut Asylum for the Deaf and the Dumb in Hartford. Moving from there in the late 1800s, there was a shift more towards what's called oralism, and these two were really competing against each other in what their emphasis was. Oralism emphasized speech and lip reading over sign language, and the goal behind that was to be able to incorporate the deaf community into mainstream society. Unfortunately, that ended up having negative effects as they moved away from manualism. A lot of the deaf community started to feel the loss of their culture and their own language. But the Milan Convention of 1880 really furthered that way of thinking and proposed that as to put the forefront of deaf education. And the National Association of the Deaf was also founded in 1880, and that really was kind of in opposition to the Milan Convention. They were trying to advocate for the rights of the deaf community, ensuring that they could still keep sign language as their primary language of communication. William Stokes, moving into the 1900s, he was a linguist in the 1960s, and he really challenged that oralism point of view through his extensive research on ASL as an actual language. It really wasn't considered to be a true language at that point. And then the total communication movement in the 1970s advocated for the use of all communication methods to meet the needs of the deaf community. This brought about what we think of today when we think of deaf education, and that was the bilingual bimodal model. And it was kind of a combination of manualism and oralism, using sign language and spoken language to support language development and literacy. This has resulted in American Sign Language being recognized as a legitimate language, and deaf students now have the opportunity to be fluent in both ASL and English, and they are considered bilingual. In today's education world, we have had huge advances in technology that have been a great support in terms of deaf education, and that's not only hearing aids and implants, but communication devices that students can use. And that's the end of my portion. So, Rachel, you can go ahead and take over. And Rachel, you can unmute.
Okay. I am doing diversity within the deaf community. Diversity within the deaf community is in education is crucial in consideration for creating inclusive and equitable learning environments. Linguistic diversity. While ASL is widely used, there are also other languages globally, such as British Sign Language, which is called BSL, and Langue des Signes Québécois, which is LSQ, which is from Quebec, which is French. There's also one in French called Francois. Some deaf individuals may use signed exact language, which is you spell it out with ASL sign language. You will spell it exactly what you see. So if you say table, you'll use TABLE, which uses, of course, finger spelling. Pidgin signed English is a way for deaf individuals and speakers of English to communicate. We also use that in special education. We use Pidgin sign language. I teach in, uh, uh, sorry, I teach in LFI, which is Learning for Independent, and we use that a lot with our autistic children. We use pigeon learning. Educational programs need to respect and incorporate linguistic diversity to ensure all deaf students have access to communication that aligns with their backgrounds. In MCPS, we do a lot of the learning and using sign language because some of our children are nonverbal. So in education, Montgomery County has definitely taken a strong leap in using ASL to communicate with children and also to show parents how to communicate with their children. The deaf community encompasses individuals from various racial, cultural, and ethnic backgrounds. Black deaf individuals, for example, may face intersectional challenges related to both racial and disability discrimination. Culturally responsive teaching recognizes and celebrates these intersecting identities, ensuring representation and inclusion in the curriculum. Like I said, we've already been trying to make headway in including ASL in many different things in our culture, such as breastfeeding, such as uh, autism and learning for independence and teaching people how to communicate. So as some people, of course, we have different languages, and ASL, of course, is recognized as a language.
Yeah, and just to jump in, Rachel, I totally agree with what you were saying. I also work in a special ed population with LFI or SCB, and ASL has been huge for not just the deaf community, but for nonverbal students as well. So the fact that it was recognized as a language and is being able to be used in multiple spheres of education, I think is really great. Thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely. Oh, no
Yep.
problem.
All right, socioeconomic factors, Lucy, were you going to share about this?
Oh, I think I did that I
Oh,
did
sure. Go
that.
ahead, Rachel. Sorry.
Okay. Socioeconomic factors, you access to resources such as hearing aids, cochlear implants, interpreters, and specialized education services often depends on the socioeconomic status of the student. These disparities can impact educational opportunities and outcome for deaf students. Schools can address these inequities by providing financial support, technology, and community outreach programs to support underserved populations. Again, we in Montgomery County specifically, we have taken strides in providing technology for our LFI students and SCB students, such as iPads, things that will help them to communicate, and also, of course, having interpreters come into some of our classrooms to help us to teach our children too. So in our culture and in Montgomery County, we have definitely taken strides in doing that. So, intersectionality of identities. Students may identify as deafblind, LGBTQ, or have additional disabilities, which may be referred to as deaf plus. Educational approaches must accommodate these unique combinations to create a supportive learning environment. This intersectionality highlights the importance of individualized education programs tailored to diverse needs, IEPs. Okay. And methods of education, we have bilingual, bimodal approach. Many schools now emphasize both ASL and written spoken English to foster bilingualism. And also the mainstreaming versus deaf schools. Some students attend mainstream schools with interpreters, while others prefer deaf-centered schools that use ASL as the primary language. A deaf school is also Gallaudet University. I taught breastfeeding there, which is like amazing to have that. And also, I learned about the Japanese ASL also, which was very interesting. And knowing that all these cultures come together in one school, they have really taken strides to make sure that these students that are from other countries are also incorporated in their school too, which we can take a page from here.
Mhm. And there's also the school right in Frederick, right? The School for the Deaf in
Absolutely.
Frederick as well. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Rachel. Okay, is this where Lucy takes over?
Oh, oh, this is still Rachel
It's
Day.
still
Oh,
me.
okay. Great. Keep on going, girl.
All right, community and representation. Having deaf educators and role models in schools can make a significant difference. These individuals help students embrace their identities and provide cultural affirmation. By addressing these diversity, educators can create environments where deaf students thrive academically, socially, and emotionally. And not necessarily that the teacher has to be deaf, but also that the teacher knows ASL. Like it's very important that we incorporate these students into our curriculum and our activities during the day so they also feel included.
Agreed.
Yeah, this is my part.
Okay, thank you, Lucy.
Okay, yeah, program for different age group. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, we have like infant and toddlers for the age birth to 3 years old. We also have like a preschooler for age 3 to 5 years old. And the next, um, yeah, for the elementary schoolers and for middle school and high schoolers, basically we have like 4 different age groups.
And just
Next.
so
Mhm.
everyone knows who's watching this, we're going to post these slides so you guys can read them more extensively on your own time. We're not going to read every single thing here, but we will have them posted for you guys. Okay, go ahead, Lucy.
Yeah, thank you.
Hmm.
Yeah. So all these resources, we list here, it's very helpful. But I want to mention for the parent organization, Montgomery County Association for Hearing Impaired Children. So they are the address here. They will arrange like informational meetings and social events. Next. For the therapist, um, yeah, most likely they have like auditory verbal therapist. We call the AVT. They basically they teach like lip reading and visual cues. Um, the second therapist is total communication speech therapist. The benefit of speech therapist for deaf children is improve their ability to connect with others socially, to express their feelings, need, and desire, to improve their language literacy skills, which help them with their school performance and employabilities. Yeah. Teaching tips and strategies. Since Rachel, we have some overlapped. So I just when I see we have when she already mentioned, so I just quickly just mention. Yeah, for the for the all the disability student, we have like IEP plans. Um, Goal of IEP for children with hearing loss is improve auditory comprehension skills by following multi-step directions, using appropriate vocabulary and grammar in written and spoken communication. The children who are eligible for the IEP process get specialized support and related service. Yeah, classroom instruction related services. It's include contained classes and small group instruction, itinerant services in the DHOH students neighborhood school, audiological audiological services to assist students, families, and staff. Auditory communication specialist for specialized communication therapist. Also, they have interpreting services, school psychological services, and special education transportation. Yeah. So yeah. Next. Yeah, my friend Rachel mentioned, ASL, it's widely used in the school, the teaching. Um, uh, and also my other friend will also explain ASL later. So I just skip ASL. Yeah,
No problem.
next. Yeah, I mentioned a little bit speech reading, which is like when students who are deaf or hard of hearing observe movement of lips when speech is happening. It's one of the essential building block for students who are deaf or hard of the hearing. Um, yeah. So, yeah, the speech reading is very important and very helpful for students. They may not be able to completely understand what is being said. It still help them differentiate words. Implementing speech reading can look like sharing visuals with the student and also verbally stating what it is and having them watch.
And I'll interject really quick, Lucy. I am taking another class in person down at the Rockville campus, and one of my classmates is deaf. And
Hmm.
so it's really interesting because she has two interpreters that come with her and they kind of tag team interpreting for her, but then she also can read lips. So it's a little bit of a combination, like
Hmm.
where she'll see the professor speaking and at sometimes be able to read lips, but then she also has an interpreter translating for her, and it kind of works all together to make those accommodations work for her. So I just think it's really cool how it all comes together.
Uh-huh. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I guess
Oh, did
maybe,
you want to continue
yeah.
on that last slide?
No, no,
The next one
yeah, the next. Yes.
after this one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, mainly, as we mentioned, the ASL, which is American Sign Language, is widely used in the school, and also a very popular tool program in the Montgomery College, which is the DHOH and the Interact program. The DHOH program consists of a team that provides services to students that follow their IEP throughout schooling. Services consist of HOH, itinerant, uh, auditory communication specialist, interpreting services, audiological services, and more. And for the Interact, it's a program that consists of a team that helps students with significant communication disabilities. They offer them help by providing assistance technology devices such as talkers, Go Talks, and other different communicators that help them interact with others. They also provide different specialists, such as speech pathologists, to come in and help students as well. Yeah. Um, yeah, they will provide other, they have other need and special consideration like counseling, family support and training, sign language instruction for family members, and the deaf hard of hearing peers, role models, recreation, social opportunities, transition services and other services. Yeah, the last one. Yeah, for the student, for the deaf student, we also provide some testing accommodations to include personal hearing equipment, separate testing locations, extended testing time, listening break, test accommodation to be used during classroom and state test. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Lucy, so much. Yuvisna?
A common misconception about deaf individuals is that they can read lips. This is not necessarily true, as some people may not have the ability to lip read, while others do not. Even those who can read lips often struggle with understanding certain phrases or specific words. When communicating with a deaf person, it's always best to use an interpreter. If an interpreter isn't available, alternative methods such as writing things down or using gestures are more effective means of communication. Another common myth about deaf individuals is that they can't speak English clearly, and if they can, they're faking it. However, deafness affects people in various ways. Much like other disabilities or experiences, Deafness exists on a spectrum. Some individuals are born deaf, while others gradually lose their hearing over time. Additionally, some people are partially deaf and may use hearing aids or cochlear implants. The way a deaf person speaks and the clarity of their speech can vary based on their unique experiences with language and communication. Here are interactive sign language activities. Here are the ASL letters or alphabet. You could try signing your name or simple phrases like hello, thank you, and I love you, as this is just a small part of the rich and expressive language that makes up deaf culture.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys have ever seen people interpreting sign language, but I actually find it incredibly beautiful to watch someone who's doing sign language and interpreting for somebody else. And I'm sure, Rachel, you probably have experience with your student population, but I was just going to encourage anyone who's watching this, learning basic sign language, even if it's just a couple phrases, I think is so helpful and beneficial if you're working with deaf students or with students who are nonverbal. It goes a really long way for them to be able to communicate with you, even in basic ways. Rachel, I'm sure you probably agree with the population that you work with.
Absolutely. Sorry is the best one. Please. Thank
Yes.
you. They're all very good and they're very
Yeah.
simple and easy to teach.
My daughter has taken 3 years of sign language at the high school, and she took the seal of biliteracy, I think it's called, where you're considered bilingual now. And they said that once you're given a name by a deaf person, a non-hearing person, that's like an official sign that you are like welcomed into the deaf community, is they give you a special way to sign your name. And so she happened to see a deaf person out in public at her work and was signing with them, and they signed her name, and she just was so excited because it meant she was kind of like officially welcomed into that community.
That is
So
awesome.
anyway,
Oh,
yeah, sorry
great.
to interrupt you,
Very
Visna. I just
awesome.
wanted to mention that. But was there anything else you wanted to say on that, Yuvisna?
No.
Okay.
And here are ways to learn ASL. You can use ASL apps, take online classes or lessons, watch videos, get a sign language tutor, watch interpreters, and follow ASL influencers on social media.
Okay, so I am going to stop sharing my screen for just a second. That brings us to the end of our presentation. I hope that you guys enjoyed learning a little bit about the deaf community and specifically about ASL. I do know that MCPS provides a course. One of my coworkers actually is taking it currently on basic ASL. And so if anyone's interested, I would just encourage you to look into that. It's free through the MCPS website. So if anybody else has anything to say, we can do that. If not, I hope everyone watching has a great day. Thank you for listening to our presentation.
Thank you, guys. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, bye. I stop sharing.